Okay, so I want to talk about something really quick that's really important to me, which is how I made the decision of this project that you may or may not be witnessing here, or looking back on in retrospective, which is this cute little flowchart that I built, and I'm going to walk you through that. At the top, we have meaning of life, and before you get too invested into it, I don't know, like no one does. But one of the big issues is that we, and especially from my perspective, I lack the context to even approximate such a decision. So I think one of the logical conclusions would be to learn as much as you possibly can. And since learning is me changing what I'm doing, right? I have to change my behavior. If I put my hand on a stove and I burn myself, then the next time I see the red glowing thing on the stove and I don't touch it, I've changed, I've learned, right? I've adapted. And since I'm feeling dissatisfaction from my life, wherever this may come from specifically, it means I have to behave differently from now on out. I have lived a life, 22 years. Things have happened, especially in the last few years. I've made decisions, and I'm unhappy with the current. Or I'm not even unhappy. I'm happy. I'm just not satisfied. I think the thought of me dying now would not just feel sad, as in I like living. I would feel like I didn't offer what I could have. One of the things that drives this dissatisfaction is something that I discovered this year, basically, which is that I'm deeply driven by something psychologically called shame. I know it sounds like a crazy word that we usually use to explain emotion, but it's, from a psychological view, a way of viewing yourself, which is with judgment and saying you are inherently not good the way you are. This discovery ended up being so meaningful because it had impacted my life in such an incredibly strong way that was really difficult for me to grasp at the time, that I've decided that this would be a priority for a certain amount of time, which I think is very unusual for my age, because a lot of people, think about money and so on, but I don't think if I can fix this, nothing else will work. My theory of how should I change my behavior looks the following. It is improving oneself and it's accepting oneself. They're the both ends of the candle that ends up hopefully in a state that makes it easier for me to act in a way that will leave me more satisfied with life. Acceptance means we have to fully accept the situations that have caused this behavior, and we have to identify them so we can change them, so then we can be more satisfied. And improving is basically what we already said, which is changing the behavior. Based on that, this phase one right now, which is just basically a form of exposure therapy, is you look at the list of those things that you feel shame towards, aka the reality that exists that you have a certain judgment towards. You say, oh, this is good, this is bad, or just the things that are, the way I look, the way I sound, my skills, and so on. Which I wrote, I called Output of Reality, which is a terrible name. And the way we're going to escape shame is we're going to use values. Values just being things that you deeply believe in based on, the life you've lived. And I'm sure there are many of them. And I've feel totally fine expanding the list. But the two that I found very fitting for this problem right now are humility and courage. Humility being the belief that no human is better or worse than anybody else, inherently. It doesn't mean you can't judge behavior, which is the thing that we change, right? You kill someone and that behavior is bad, and you should, in our justice system, maybe have consequences, but you aren't born a better or worse human. Basically, we want to judge people on their character, which is not the same as their behavior. Even though I feel like a lot of people take that first step, you aren't what you think you do, you are what you do. But you can change what you do. You can, murder someone first and then behave very contributing to the life of other people the rest of your life. And the other one being courage. If we say, life is pain, little Buddhism here, but in some way, no matter where I look, whether it's religion or psychology, there are these things that we can't change. Discomfort, work, whatever you call them. Life is pain. And our brain evolved in a way to protect us, to, spread our genes, gives you a signal, and we call that signal fear, which is trying to predict things that might endanger yourself. And our brain is very fast, but it's very dumb in a way. And it can't really understand context, and we need to continuously give it counterproof to what it was saying. And so we need to kind of have this ability to behave despite our emotion in a way that aligns with these values. And the reason it's so important that I line these out, that I think humility and courage are my values, is whenever I do these exposure experiments, which is in reality gonna be me doing really cringe stuff that I judge internally, which is why they are so painful. And then I'm gonna look at them from the outside, the different me that had some way to step out of the emotion, and we're gonna judge them based on this, which is you are not better or worse just because you are a certain way you are right now. And you can change your behavior, which will, by the way, based on this belief system, also not change your worth, which means if I become a millionaire, I will not be better than I am now, which is something I feel like you have to get used to. Like, you cannot be better than you are now, and you cannot be worse than you are now. You just are, which is a very non-Western way of thinking. And courage being that as I'm facing the fear, as I am accepting basically the pain and just saying feelings are, not feelings are good or bad, I am also behaving aligned with these values. And hopefully it will make it easier for me to go this chain all the way up and, very far in the future, live a life from which I can approximate what the point of anything is. But all I know is I can't do it right now, not the way I am. And so I will, we put the long vision 10 years ahead, but we're gonna try to just feel the moments, and we're just gonna do, one day at a time. And for the exposure therapy, I'm gonna write a little list. Maybe I'll put like a picture at the end of the thing, but usually I'm too lazy. So maybe I will waste a whole nother video on this. And it will have things that create this fear, that create this discomfort, this pain that I cannot change anyways. And we're gonna face it, and we're gonna live with it, and then we're gonna look at it afterwards and try to purely look from values to basically separate ourselves from my own judgment towards myself, which, wouldn't it be nice if we all felt that way?